Hello boys and gurgles. This is a quick video to remind you that there are a number of assessment tasks due this week. That is due on the 13th of January. You can submit before then, but 13th of January by midnight is the absolute final date. So the three assessment tasks are the third online quiz, the fourth portfolio questionnaire, and the short answer assignment. The short answer assignment is obviously the largest of the assessment tasks and is worth the most. So you should pace yourself, and I suggest, for example, do one question per day from the short answer assignment, and then on the last day just review everything that you've done. So that's that. So get cracking. A student has also asked a question relating to the last of the short answer assignment questions. So I'll address that in I won't give you the answer obviously, but I'll address how you go about answering it, because you might not have come across the concepts that it asks about in the videos yet. So let's have a look at that. Here we'll look at the simple multiplier. There's actually different multipliers that can be used, and I refer to that in one of the videos that I've made, but here I'm just going to look at the simple multiplier. So this is referring to a situation where we've got a simple economy, and what I mean by that is that taxes and imports are either zero or they're lump sums. That is, they are unrelated or unaffected by the level of income or the change in the income in the economy at any given moment. And it's where additional disposable household income is either spent on consumption or is saved. And that's according to some given percentage or other. So for example, for an additional dollar of household income that is earned, say 60% of it, or 0.6, is spent, and 40% of it, 0.4, is saved. So the multiplier, the simple multiplier, is simply this. It's K equals 1 over the marginal propensity to save. Okay? The marginal propensity to save just means the percentage of an additional dollar earned that would be saved. And that's identical to 1 over 1 minus C, where little c is the marginal propensity to consume. That is, the percentage of an additional dollar earned that would be spent on consumption. We can see that they're going to be the same in this simple economy case. So for example, where we've said that 40% of additional income would be saved, the simple multiplier would be 1 over 0.4, or equivalently 1 over 1 minus 0.6, which is 0.4. So the multiplier in this case would be 2.5. This is where this multiplier comes from. Okay? It's dependent on what in the simple case, the breakdown between the marginal propensity to consume and the marginal propensity to save is. Okay? That's that. Now, if you wanted a little bit more explanation, well, where does this come from? I'll have to do a little bit of maths with you, and it's simple, but this is just to explain where it's coming from. You don't actually need it for the question, but it's handy to know. Remember, we start off with real GDP equals C plus I plus G plus NX. Now, in the case of the C, the consumption spending, that's actually composed of two parts. We've got what we'll call an autonomous component of consumption spending, that is, some amount of consumption spending which will occur irrespective of the level of income of households. Plus, there is a component of the consumption spending which is dependent on income, on the income of the households. And we can see here it's the little c, marginal propensity to consume, multiplied by the household income. Okay. So, for example, it might be, 100 plus 60% of 1,000, say. Okay. The key point is that this consumption spending, total consumption spending, has two parts to it: an autonomous part and an endogenous part, or a part that is dependent on whatever the level of income is. Alright, so let's plug that into this overall equation. So we've got this now, and we can say, alright, we've got two incomes here, two y's, so let's put all the y's on one side. So we'll minus cy from this side and minus cy from the other side. What you do to one side, you do to the other, which means we'd end up with this. So we've got y, or income, minus some percentage of income equals all of these autonomous components of expenditure. These components of expenditure which are, in a sense, given or fixed. They're independent of the level of income. Let's say we'll take all of them, let's just add all of those up into one blob and call that overall autonomous expenditure. Let's just rewrite it like this to make it simpler. And then we notice, hang on a sec, we've got these two y's. We can do a bit of factorization here. So we've got our common factor of y. So if we factorize this, we'd have this. And we can, you can do it in reverse. That is, you expand out your brackets, you multiply y by 1. Y times 1 is y. Y times negative c is negative cy. Okay, so you'd be back to this thing here. Anyway, so we got this, and then we can say, alright, let's take 1 minus c and move it back to the other side. So what we'd have to do is, to get it back to the other side, we'd have to divide by, on the left-hand side, divide by 1 minus c. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. So divide by 1 minus c, which would give us this. Okay, so we're almost home. So if we changed one of the autonomous components of expenditure, it would be multiplied by this thing here, this constant, and it would give you the change in income. Yeah. So the change in autonomous expenditure multiplied by this thing, let's call it the multiplier, gives us the multiplier effect. Voila!